Evening, everybody. How are we doing on this fantastic Friday evening? Yes, we couldn't make it last night because, as I said, I double booked myself. But we're here tonight. Yeah, absolutely. We're here tonight for our Block 9 Live Lounge. This is the segment that we will bring to you generally a Thursday. Obviously, things happen, so we might have to rearrange at times. But yes, this is a more relaxed and more chilled out football chat, mainly about Argyle, of course, yes. But as we evolve this, we'll start bringing in different elements to the show. So with us tonight, we have the regulars. Marcus. Evening, Marcus. How are we doing?
Evening, you're right.
Yeah, good. And Steve, good to see that you've got your phone in landscape, and Marcus hasn't tried to follow you on that. But evening, Steve. How are we doing? Oh, you're on mute, Steve. We can't hear you, Steve. So
good luck, Andy.
Yeah.
Lovely boy.
And yeah, go on in, Andy. How are we doing?
Marcus, get that foot on that tip, lovely boy.
I'm doing all right, thank you very much. I had a good day today.
Good.
Really much for looking forward to this one.
Good. And Gavin, who's going to be the star of our main topic tonight, he is a little bit in the shade because just before we went live, the bulb above his head went dark. Whether or not that's a sign or not, who knows? But how are we doing, Gavin?
I think it's sparing us, to be fair, Mike.
Yeah. As many people tell me, Mike, I have a face for radio, so you're not missing much.
Nothing like a light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
In reverse.
Absolutely. So, as I said, tonight's show is going to be, we're going to cover a bit on Hull. That's it. I've covered it. And then we're going to come on to our main segment, which is going to be, and I'll just show you briefly here. So it's going to be about the future of Argyle, investment and growth. So Gavin owns his own advisory business, GJC consultancy services. So he is well versed. I'll let him introduce himself into investments, mergers and acquisitions and all that sort of jazz. And obviously there's a lot of talk, in recent months over this potential, future investment, consortium, whatever it is in Plymouth Argyle. So Gavin will take us through, the points on that and things to expect and what it looks like and what it could mean for Argyle's future. So what we'll do is we'll come back to that in a minute. But first off, if I just switch back to our view here. Hull. So after the brilliant Saturday away to Manchester City, what a great experience. Obviously, we talked about that on Sunday's show. We then I was certainly buzzing and hopeful, I think, for the whole game. But it didn't turn out to be that, did it? So, Gavin, it was another massive 6-pointer. It's not over, but boy, that was a terrible showing, wasn't it?
Yeah, horrific. Toothless, spineless, no energy. The press was really negative. They all looked knackered. It was like total after the Lord Mayor's show, I think. We didn't turn up, did we? I think Meron's given the press what they wanted to hear, which didn't turn up. But yeah, I think we all had our negative mindset. I certainly resembled Bradders for about 2 hours after the game, evening Bradders, if you're watching. I think the bit that disappointed me the most was purely the lack of effort. It's a 6-pointer. You're away at Hull. You beat them. You're right back in it. You lose. You get tossed aside, and we have been tossed aside. So we got to start again.
Yeah, it was. You hope to carry some momentum because it was a great performance, Andy, wasn't it, against City? It was a shame to get that late goal equaliser just before half time, but the players did everybody proud on that, and so you just felt that would carry them with slightly heavy legs. And of course, Hull had a whole week's rest, which clearly paid the advantage in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what Miron did on the Monday, whether they trained or not. You'd think they would, but I think, as Gav said, they were knackered. They were all drained. They didn't look the side that came off the pitch against Man City. Held their heads held high. They looked at nothing like it. Sadly, in an important game like that, when I know we lost in the cup, but I'd rather have lost heavily in the cup than and go out that way than lose on Wednesday night. And it was like, let's change that on there. It just looked ridiculous. We didn't show. For whatever reason, we haven't got the depth of squad. Hardy, key injuries just plaguing our season. But yeah, we didn't show at all, did we? I don't think I can't recall a shot we had, actually. We didn't test our keeper once. So, and that's what I'm going to say in it. It's just like, want to relive it.
Yeah, no, I think Steve, sort of come to you next. It's one of those where I think you can understand certain factors, but the style of play that Miron employs, it was almost, regardless of having no one up front, to not get that shot on goal, is bad. And it's good that the post match interview, Steve, with Katic and Miron, clearly outlined the fact that wasn't good enough, and obviously the presser comments afterwards. And absolutely, because no one can accept that, but got to turn it on for tomorrow, then, haven't they?
It's a big ask tomorrow, but they were just absolutely toothless. There was no energy. There was nothing. They were absolutely drained. But we're going to regroup and start again tomorrow, and refresh that side.
Yeah, I think to a degree, it's hard when there isn't the sort of depth in certain areas, but we do have options now. So Marcus, that's going to be key, isn't it? I mean, we don't want to dwell on this other than Marcus's comments, Hull anymore. But yeah, making some changes tomorrow, the right ones, is going to be important to get. It's going to be another tough game, isn't it? Another team that has had another week's rest.
Yeah, well, I think the main thing wasn't as much against Hull. Our momentum started slipping the moment Hardy got injured. That's because we was on a roll until then. I think that's what's affected our attack, because Bundu seems to be a lot better player when Hardy plays. And one thing with Hardy, and especially Wright, they do run and they do charge down, they do attack. Some of them were like dawdling. So you can't, in Miron's system, you can't afford that, because the cracks that they're just passed around you if you don't hunt in packs.
Yeah, no, I think it's, like I said, we don't want to dwell on it for too long, really, because of the fact that we want to move on to Saturday's game and look forward to that, and as Miron said, to quote, they realised Tuesday was not good enough, and we can do way, way better. This is the right way, and this is the only way. So hopefully, the crowd, I'm sure, will be strong. As we retweeted earlier on the Argyle sort of posts on X, we want that sort of atmosphere, as Gavin posted it at the Etihad. To lift those players, and yes, I would expect Wednesday going to come at us, certainly hard and fast. But we've got to really sort of get behind. I know it's a cliche, and some people will say that, but it's more than ever. Every single game is so important. So look. We'll come on to Wednesday after our main sort of segment. So, like I said, we've got Gavin, who's I'm going to bring up the presentation in a minute. We'll go through the investment side of Argyle. So if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat on your relevant platform, and we'll aim to read that out. We are also streaming to my account on TikTok, so I'm trying to keep an eye on that to the left of me. But yes, this is something that we hope to bring you a mixture of different content over the time. We're sort of going to call it probably jumpers for goalposts as a feature, but behind the scenes or a different viewpoint. And hopefully, we'll have some people come and join us with some of the ideas that we've got that, can give some great context to it. So, sort of grab your tea, grab your whatever beverage you've got. And, Gavin, I'll sort of hand over to you. So, yeah, tell us a bit about what you do, Gavin, day to day, and then why you wanted to put this presentation together.
So what I do day to day, essentially, is help companies buy or sell, really, or raise capital, raise cash. So we help companies sell normally between sort of 5 and 50 million in revenue, and they are normally transactions of 2 to about 25, 30 million quid. So in the bandwidth, really, of what Argyle are looking at the minute in terms of their own valuation and investment pot. So Private equity. I actually did a podcast a couple of years ago with Simon, asking about the Argyle Green transaction, the American transaction, which was quite interesting, as part of a series called PE for SME. So yes, that's what we do in our day job. It's not quite as exciting as it sounds. I'll spend most of my time yelling at lawyers to try and get things done in a certain way. Spend most of my day today doing that, funny enough. So I think how this come about, when we come off air on, when was it, Sunday Sunday this week.
Yeah.
We were talking about the lack of investment and why couldn't we get a striker and all this type of stuff, and why didn't they invest now? And I sort of said, well, these are the reasons. And the boys were like, well, that's really interesting. Can we make a pod of it? So that's where we are, really, making a pod of it. So I suppose what I want to try and outline really for the I suppose the person, the man on the street that doesn't do this for a living, and my business, we normally talk to people that have either done their first deal or have done very few in their life, so they're not sophisticated people in terms of the deal transaction. So I speak in very plain English. One of our sort of sayings is a spade's a shovel. So I'll try and get the approach to this in that way. So it's easily transferable to the man, boy, girl on the terrace, which I think is what everyone's interested in.
Yeah, definitely generates a lot of questions, doesn't it, this topic?
Yeah, because it's unknown, isn't it? And it's investors. And I think a lot of people think, investing in a football club's like going to Sainsbury's. You empty your trolley onto the conveyor belt, you press the button at the end, you beep your card and you put stuff in the car and you go home. And unfortunately, I've had a deal which closed early this year, which went on for about 12 months with lawyers going back and forth and companies putting the company out of the transaction and back in again for various reasons, which I won't go into for obvious reasons. But I think finding the right investor for this football club has been challenging. And I've said that mainly because when I spoke to Simon a couple of years ago, he wanted a very specific type of investor. He wanted someone that was happy to invest in the football club, share his vision and the board's vision. So at the time, that was investing into Forston Park, investing into Harper's, providing infrastructure. I know that's Marcus's favourite word, and having a club that would generate revenue. So instead of investing money 1 year into a squad, you can generate infrastructure that would throw off enough cash flow to invest every year into a squad. So that's kind of his philosophy, which goes against the grain of most chairmen in the Championship. And certainly I would say 95, 97% of the chairmen in the Premier League. Simon's very prudent with his money. He's an exceptional fund manager or investor in his own field, and he's very well respected to the industry. So that gives you a fair idea of how he's approached the football club. I think he's probably been adamant around long-term investment and his long-term investment strategy for the last couple of years. And I think now, because he's seen the pinch point of the squad being lightweight, he's probably now thinking a little bit more around short-term investment and long-term investment strategy together. Which is challenging because you've got one pot of money. You want to do everything with it. The manager will say, right, we've got 30 million of revenue. Can I have 29 million for the squad? And the FD will be saying no, and there'll be infrastructure projects like they took on the Green Tavernas this year and all that other good stuff that goes with it that's generating more revenue. So there's a fine line every year. It's pretty much what I'm saying. And that, I suppose, is talking through this slide really around the vision for the club. So the ambition obviously is to be sustainable. So I would say sustainable within the Championship probably means you're losing somewhere between no money and a couple of £1 million a year compared to others. I mean, Oxford's statement came out this week and they lost 19 million, I think, or 16 million pounds last year.
Wow.
Cardiff lost 11 million pounds last year. And these are all clubs that you think, oh, actually, you thought they'd be a bit more sort of sustainable and a bit more risk adverse than that. So clubs are going for broke. We know what happened the last time we tried to go for broke. There was a certain group of leaders that decided to go to the promised land and take us to the World Cup glory, and we know how that ended up. We ended up nearly going out of business by a day, and thanks to certain local businessman who was our chairman, we are now where we are.
Yeah,
So,
Gavin, I think just to sort of add to it, I think that's the thing with when you sort of look at the fans' reaction and stuff, isn't it? You know, for those that, you know, and respectfully, you know, everybody has an opinion. Some people, you know, run businesses, own businesses. Some, you know, a lot haven't. You know, it's not easy, for sure. You know, and there's always just that, well, you know, why aren't we chucking money, like you alluded to, at players, and why aren't we doing this, and why are we going down that route, you know? And going back to that time under, you know, the previous ownership, you know, back in the Championship, then that is the prime example of what can go wrong when you chase that dream. You know, for some people it can pay off, can't it? And for others it can't, you know, and that cost us dearly and badly. Yes, the World Cup side of it was all tied in at the same time, you know, and all that sort of side of things. But, you know, hopefully there'll be a bit more context on things that you're given throughout this, that just shed some light on it, because, you know, I always go back to, if it was your money, you know, would you just do it like that as well?
Yeah, I think you're right. Look, I think one of the most unenviable positions in the world is probably being a football chairman, unless you're Roman Abramovich or someone that's got money to throw around, or you're, you know, you've got a sovereign state like Saudi Arabia, where all the money in the country is behind you, etc., etc. So anyone that's, you know, made themselves wealthy through their own career, that bought a football club, it's probably one of the most unenviable positions to be in. When it's going well, you're the messiah. The minute it isn't going well, everyone's effing and jeffing at you, saying, get your hand in your pocket. Come on, what's wrong with you? It's only another 5 million quid. You know, you're a tight spendthrift, and all the other nonsense that goes with it. And I listened to a podcast on the way up to Manchester, which one of the boys shared in the WhatsApp group. And actually, Simon, sort of 2 or 3 times in that interview, was with another financial business in London, and a guy who owns Chelmsford. He was saying he actually takes that stuff really to heart, and he's that's what keeps him awake at night. So, you know, he can't please everyone, but it's the 1%, 2%, 3% that slate him, that makes him stare at the ceiling at night, nothing else, which is interesting, actually, because I thought he was a bit more robust than that in his character. But clearly that means he cares about the club. Yeah. And, you know, what I've tried to do in outlining this slide is sort of the ambition, B, the financial responsibility, right? So, you know, having the financial management there, we have some rules to abide by the Football League, not quite as tight as the Premier League, but it's there. Reckless spending is not something that he wants to do. So buying, you know, trying to buy the next Ronaldo or whatever isn't going to work. Clearly, the club's built on infrastructure, and the balanced approach on the bottom slide. Basically, if you're going to spend £1, you're going to look to try and get at least 3 times that back in the long run. So whether that be buying Green Taverners building for £1 million, which I think was the price, over a period of its lifetime, you're going to want it to produce £3 million back. Now, that's an easy win, because I know it's doing more than that, and it will probably do about £1 million rev of the season, about 65% gross profit, and probably net profit of about a third. So you're looking at about 300 grand a year. So that should give it a 3.3 year return on investment, which is a pretty good investment all round. Other stuff like Harper's, the training ground, is it only going to be points on the pitch? It's going to be, you know, quite a defensive capital expenditure piece of work, because they're going to just say, well, you know, what does it give us? Well, it might give us a few more points because we've got better training facilities. They obviously moved the pitch, the fibre sand pitch, from Home Park up to Harper's on the top pitch. That's given them some really interesting results in terms of training. And then the last piece is around Folkestone Park, which is where the long-term investment is going to pay off. Right? Yeah. So in layman's terms, he's bought a massive greenhouse. He's going to convert a nursery. He's got lots of interesting green shoots. He's going to plant in pots, water and talk to every day, and hope they grow into nice big bushes so he can sell them for a big profit. Yeah, to use an analogy.
Yeah. I think just on Folkestone, Gavin, I think what people also don't realise is he doesn't just sort of sit there and say last month go, I tell you what, let's go and buy that place and do it up. This is stuff that is planned, you know, in some cases several years in advance, but certainly way in advance as part of that plan, isn't it? And then within that time frame, you get promoted and all this lot, but you have to stick to what your, you know, 5-year plan. They've had to revise it, but that is all. That is not something that's done overnight or within a couple of months, and then suddenly, oh, here you go, there it is.
They did the same with goals, didn't they?
Yeah,
the goals project. Yeah,
Look,
I get
right? A football fan wants to be able to buy a player tomorrow, right? And we can take Beidou as an example. And he gets off the plane, laces up his boots, and scores 5 hat tricks in his first 5 games. And that £1.5 million, how wasn't it spent really well? Doesn't happen that way, does it? Folkestone Park is probably the next ownership's reward, not Simon's. So, a bit like a political landscape, Labour, Tory over here, Democrat, and Republican over the way. Everyone makes really short-term decisions to make sure they're popular for the next 4 years. I love Simon's bravery because he's gone, don't care about that, actually. Care about you can tell he's a genuine fan, care about the long-term return on investment for the club. So by building Folkestone Park, he's going to have a number of good training fields to plant his little seeds to help them grow so that they can be the next Mike Cooper, the next, etc., etc., etc. And actually, if you looked at, there was a tweet earlier, which I found really interesting, top-rated FOTMOB players of the division, 3 ex-Argyle Academy players were in that. Okay.
Wow.
With us training at Dalgany and wherever we can find a bit of a pitch and blah blah blah. So it's clear, doff the cap to Neil Dewsnip because he's put that infrastructure in play. But actually, those 3 players were probably in well before that. So we do have something, and we've got a large catchment area, which, unlike other clubs, we're not fighting too many academies. So this £1 in, £3 back, 11 million quid. We're going to need to probably 6 players at £5 million will get us our return on investment.
Yeah.
Right? That'll get us our 3x. So you go, actually, when you think about it that way, if we were the board of Argyle and someone's, and Mark has said, what we're going to do is we're going to sign Finn Azaz for £20 million because he'll get us up. And the other 4 of us go, well, actually, why don't we spend that 20 million quid on Folkestone Park? Because we might not go up this year, but actually that might give us revenue and cash flow for the remaining years that's in play to actually help us buy new players. That's the argument that they've had, right? And obviously, clearly, Simon has gone, nah, it's my money. We're doing this. He's probably taken some view from some of the other board, and they've probably all in agreement. So that was the challenge he had about bringing in a new investor. Because that new investor needs to think about short and long term, okay? Which has been the ongoing argument forever, quite frankly. So that's the sort of pretense of the first slide to set out the stall. We're not going to be, a lot of these other big clubs in the Championship and even the smaller ones, they've all got really good training facilities already. It was embarrassing. I sat in a sponsor's breakfast 18 months ago, and Neil Dewsnip said, we're the only club in the league that don't have our own gym. We have to go up to Nuffield to use a gym. And it's full of other people going, can I have your autograph and can I have a photo and blah, blah, blah. So that's just absolutely ridiculous that a Championship football club at the time did not have its own gym facility. So that's how far behind we are everybody else.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, sort of when Derek Adams took over, he the Harper's Park was a state in its own, wasn't it? The pitch, so everything
as well.
Say again, Andy.
Had a porter cabin for a gym where the ticket office is now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't train high quality, high performing athletes in that environment. Simple.
No.
Right. So I think everything he's done to date, he's spent his money really wisely. Only in the last 6 months, where this has all been put into play, he's starting to now think about short-term investment rather than long-term investment and trying to equalise that sort of investment structure.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's also, before we move to the next slide, I think it's important to remember every decision that you take, in business of any form is a risk. Some will pay off and they'll be more obvious that they're going to pay off. Others won't, and I'm going through that as you all know, for those that don't know, I work at the Range and I'm heading up the project to coordinate the transition of 52 home-based stores to Range stores. We're into, I think we opened 24 now. We opened another, this is 3 a week since January, pretty much until May. and the investment and managing that, to get set up is just phenomenal, and yes, it does put pressure on many areas of the business, but hopefully that payoff and why we're doing it, will come off. And so far they've been great. We've saved a lot of jobs, but all of these things, that's an extreme level of risk, because humongous investment for capital to achieve that. And some stuff won't always work. So, it's when it's your money, you take a different view on it. When it's, we can just go in and do this, and it's not your train set. It's easy for people to make, those sort of assumptions of, I want to do this and I want to do that, and we get it. So, are you ready for this slide?
Yeah. Just to put a caveat on that, my first mentor, a venture capital firm I worked for in London a few years back, his first lesson to me, he was 67, 68, was, Gavin, there's two types of money. And I'm all ears, thinking I'm going to get this wonderful Churchillian speech. And he said, there's money and my money. And I was looking after some investments for him personally, as well as my job. And I think he was just expressing the point that the funds might just take second best when I'm looking at his money. So that's always stuck with me, in fairness, for the job I do. So yeah, short-term, long-term investment. So look at the short-term stuff we've done in recent times, right? We're trying to avoid championship relegation. We bought Maxi, we bought Katic, or we put Katic on loan. We bought Beidou in the window. We bought Pusac in on loan. I think he's on £15,000 or £18,000 a week. We're probably picking all that up. So he's realised, and he's put some more money in himself, because I don't think there was quite the working cap there. Although probably actually there was the working cap there from the transfers, actually, from Cooper and others. He's used that. There's still some left over for the summer, and I think with Sheffield United going up, I think they will. There's another £2 million coming in from Cooper. So that's to avoid relegation piece. He's looked to increase match day revenue year on year. Again, another short-term investment which will give long-term results is the Green Taverners. So he's brought that back in. That delivers about £1 million of revenue a year on match days, and then whatever else it does through the year on functions and bits and bobs. Squad depth, buy and develop. So I suppose Maxi's probably the best recent example of that, because we bought him. Was he a risk? Probably a little bit of a one, I think. He didn't have a great record elsewhere. I think there was raw ingredients there. And I think if you're going back to the nursery analogy, he wasn't a seed. He was probably a young sapling of a tree that we can put in the ground, get some fertile, and hopefully it grows really quickly. So, if we sell him in 2 years' time for 5, 6, 7, 8 million quid, there's another example. A man who forgot to turn up for work is another good example too. We bought him for £1 million, we sold him for 6, right? Potentially going to 8.
Just a quick question, Gav. Was there a clause in his contract, do we know? Was there a relegation clause in his contract?
Don't know. It's confidential. Andy, I wouldn't know. I would say on where he is and the fact he's been absolutely adorned by the fans at the minute, I think if we go down to League One, he'll stay anyway. Because otherwise, where are you going to be? Another bit part player in another club and get frustrated? If you're loved and adorned, you'll stay. Look what Pleggy's just done. Yeah.
And actually, Andy, Gav, on that point, with Maxi, you won't go and sign a player and give some sort of ridiculous clause if we go down, because again, this is another investment. You're not going to spend 1.8 million euros or whatever it was around that, wasn't it? And then if you go down, say, you're free to go. A bid will have to come in that covers that. Absolutely.
If there's a relegation clause, the relegation clause will clearly state this: you can go as long as you meet our minimum valuation.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple.
What happened with Gibson, wasn't it? He got triggered.
Correct.
He went.
Correct. Now, one of the things that when I first started looking at football, found really strange was to make up a balance sheet. For those who know what a balance sheet is, it's basically a snapshot of the company's assets and liabilities, right? So in the asset column, there's obviously infrastructure, there's the ground, there's Harper's, all the land there, there's GT building, blah, blah, blah. But there's also players. So players are obviously assets of the club. So when you buy a player, let's say for £10 million, you will then go, okay, we're going to depreciate that player for 5 years. He's got a 5-year contract, so he's going to depreciate £2 million a year. Right? Now, he might appreciate at the end, but he might not. Who knows? So that's another thing I found really strange looking at football. One of my previous colleagues was the CFO at Derby County when they were in the Premier League for a couple of years. And there's some weird and wonderful calculations that accountants use to appreciate and depreciate players on the balance sheet. If you look at what Chelsea have done in recent times, they've depreciated players over 9-10 years to try and get away from financial fair play. So, that's interesting in itself. So that's the short-term goals. Long-term goals, obviously, have a really secure financial model, which, again, will probably be saying we're only going to lose maximum £2 million a year. And in the Championship, that's unheard of. I think their ideal scenario is that we break even. I don't think anyone would ever want the company to make a profit because they'll say, well, you could have put more in the playing squad. Right? So that's, if you're going to invest into, and Simon said this plenty of times, if you're going to invest into a football club, it isn't to make money until you get your exit. You're certainly not getting cash flow off and out the business as an owner each year in terms of profit. Every single penny comes back in and more. Develop home park facilities. Whoever was going to get the bingo list of filling the corners, now is time to get your dabber out and punch that little hole. Developing infrastructure to have larger crowds means larger revenues. That makes obvious sense, doesn't it? In the long term, improve training facilities. And have a nursery of talent. We've just gone through this with our dear friend, with the Folkestone Park project and Harper's, and that really underpins, I suppose, the fact that, again, if you want to spend $5 million of transfer window, what you're really trying to do is build an infrastructure and revenue that throws off $5 million of cash a year that you can just plot back into the transfer budget. Now, that doesn't all then come from the asset. It could come from TV money or whatever. But it means then that a lot of clubs that are really successful have lots of non-match day revenue streams, merchandise, hospitality, all the stuff that Simon's mentioned. And as a business owner, then you're not having to put your hand in your pocket once a quarter to balance the books. You're saying every bit of surplus cash goes back into the squad and back into the transfer budget. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of how that works. If you do all that stuff year on year, it will increase the club's valuation year on year. Right. Now, normal businesses that I value with accountants and other really dull people is, sorry for those that are listening that work with me.
Please don't take offence to that. Thanks, Gavin. Yeah.
There's two normal barometers to value a business. One is a multiple of EBITDA. Now, my brother loves me talking about this because whenever he gets in the car with me anywhere, I'm on the phone and we're talking about EBITDA, and he's like, EBITDA wankers again, all your friends are there. Yeah, lovely. EBITDA is basically expenditure for interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization, right? So it's basically your net operating profit.
Yeah, a good marker for how your business is doing, isn't it?
It's a good barometer. So what it doesn't take into consideration is any tax as a tax man and any interest on loans or any that you pay or any interest in cash in the bank that you accrue, right? So if you think about profit line to there, then you have a multiple of that as your trigger. So various industries. So tech industries try and get like 15 multiples of that. More bread and butter industries, retail, engineering will be, probably a good business will be 6 or 7 times of that. So what you're basically saying is to sell on that, you're going to take 6 or 7 years profit or 10 or 12 years profit in one hit and walk away, right? So that's how the business can be valued in one sense. The other sense is your assets plus a degree of goodwill, right? Which is another classic way of valuing the business. So at the moment on one of the streaming sites, Argyle's current value is £30.2 million, which is about 1 times revenue. So again, there's another way broadly you could look at it. And without seeing that, when I researched this, I guessed it was about 1 times rev, right? And it is 1 times revenue broadly. It's about 30.2 million. So we're one of the bottom 4 evaluations in the league. I think Burnley are top of 178 million. Okay. Bottom was Oxford, I think, off memory, or one at about 20 million quid. Right. So in order to the clubs that have stayed in the Championship year on year on year, got the 10 million quid in fees, grown the fan base, sold more shirts, sold more hospitality space, had weddings, done discos, all that good stuff. Yeah. They're the ones that have an increased value year on year, and they're the ones that are sitting at the moment at between 45 and 70 million of value to buy the club.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you invest in the club, if you have, let's make the maths really simple because I'm really tired. The company's worth 40 million pounds, and you've got 10 million pounds burning a hole in your pocket. Simon's going to go, great, you can have 25% of the club, right? Now, here's where the interesting bit starts. And I've seen some comments on Twitter on this. Oh, yeah, that's it. You know, sell the club, Simon. If he sells his shares, the money goes to him, obviously, right? So what they'll try and do, I think, in this instance, is they'll try and issue new shares so the money comes into the business. But all that then does mean is that everybody's shares are diluted. So Simon's 75% was worth X. Now the money's come in, there's more shares, the pie's got bigger, his percentage has stayed the same, but his actual cash value was dropped. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I believe, if you want to flick over a slide, Mike, and just go a bit more about values, I think, of memory. That's one of the reasons why I believe we will do a deal at the end of the season. Now, the impact on league position clearly is massive, right? So if you just look at TV revenue, 10 million circa, and these are round numbers, guys. So I'm going to have some people in the comments going, "Oh, it's 9.62 or whatever." So these are round numbers, all round numbers. TV revenue this year is 10 million quid. If we drop down the league, it's £1 million. So our 30 million revenue this year, assuming everything stays the same in League One, will be 20, not 30. 21, right? However, we aren't going to be able to charge as much for sponsorship. We aren't going to be able to charge as much for hospitality because obviously we're down a league, the quality of football's less and all that good stuff. So there's a massive impact, and match day income drops by 30% or increases by 30% in the championship, whichever way you try and slice and dice the revenue model. So when the bit that always makes me giggle is last year when we beat Hull on the last day, Simon walks in the changing room and he hugs Nance and he hugs Dewsnip and just says, "Thank you." And I was thinking, that thank you figure is because there's probably another 10 to 12 million of capital value still intact in the club. Bearing in mind, you thought an investor had just started talking to him then that a deal would have been done in a few months, and it's taken over a year. So he's probably thinking, you saved my bacon, but there's probably an extra 10 million of the club value now, so that you don't have to dilute his shares as much, basically. That's going to be a big factor this year. If you stay up again a second year with all that cash, so that's why I think the last few games are so important. Yes, they're important for our enjoyment as fans, going, bloody hell, I don't want to go away to, don't want to go away to Wrexham or whoever's going to be down there, Shrewsbury or Fleetwood or all the places that we've gone in the past where you think, God, let me get me out of this. Walsall being examples, they're going up. You want to be playing the top clubs. That's our enjoyment. But actually, on a fiscal level, this is really, really important for the club in terms of the revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then therefore the valuation. You flick a slide over again. Mike.
Oh, hang on. I was just thinking actually, just before you go on to that, sort of Marcus, Steve, so even everybody that's joined us and come in the last few minutes. So obviously, welcome to the Block 9 podcast. This is our live lounge on a Friday night. The midweek show, Thursday, Friday, is where it's going to fall about. We just talk about Argyle stuff again, but obviously we want to bring a different topic each week where we can to sort of change up the conversation. Sundays at 6:30 is when we normally do our post-match analysis from Saturday. So yes, we've got Gavin, who owns his own advisory business, who's done this presentation, and thank you for that, Gavin, to talk you through tonight on the investment potential and what that means to the club and how Simon would have looked at everything in to set the club up for a strong future. So yeah, look, really insightful for those that don't understand that and have come in to hear a bit on that. So, Steve, any sort of initial questions from yourself? How have you found that information, and what questions so far would you ask? Oh, you're on mute again.
I'm always on mute. It's quite interesting, actually. And, looking at it's massive relegation to staying in the Championship. Absolutely massive, isn't it?
Yeah. As Gavin will talk us through that, but yeah. Yeah, anything that jumps out to you, like any thoughts that you've had, I'm not asking to call you out in any negative way, anyone, but anything where you've gone, well, I've had that view of we should just spend, and is this giving you a bit more of a sort of food for thought, I think maybe is the phrase.
It's given a bit more food for thought, because we know what happened several years ago.
Yeah.
And obviously spend. Obviously, those were the dark days, obviously. And it's going to be sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcus, infrastructure, dear boy. Sorry, Andy, I'm trying to mimic you there. So what thoughts so far from yourself, Marcus?
Well, for a start, the infrastructure has already given me an headache. I was wondering what was the valuation of the club pre Ryan Lowe in 2019?
It would have been sub 10 million. Marcus.
Sub 10 million, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
the capital value is probably 3 times what it was when Simon took over as chairman, as a guess, without going back and without looking, just literally off the gut. I would say I've got enough of it. I would say it's probably gone from 5 to 10 League One, 10 to 20 in the top end in top end of League One, and now sort of 20 to 30 in the Championship would be my guess.
Yeah, I do remember when Derek Adams first came, he couldn't believe the standard of the training facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, it was basically set up like a village team, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the world of investment, we call it undercapitalised. But yes, it was as undercapitalised a club as you probably could imagine. And I think that's why the little old Argyle mentality has been around for so long. Because, if you were looking at now the club in, say, Derek Adams or Sheridan's time, you'd say, what a tin pot club that was, wouldn't you? Everything on the cheap, suppliers on the cheap, players on the cheap, everything on the cheap. Now, under Simon's ambition, we've grown massively.
Yeah, and actually, just worth a shout out to the Pilgrims podcast. The boys there did have that interview with Derek Adams. Go search for it. And it's and it's an insightful one actually in terms of what he turned up and came to, and that's that's the sort of rawness of football, isn't it? That you sort of come in and it's like things like you're struggling. James Brent obviously had tried to get it stable and did, and all this Peter Reid's paying for the electricity at one stage, all that sort of stuff. Those really tough times off the back of trying to chase ambition too aggressively. And now look where we are again.
And another thing, like extending the ground, which could add money, but how do we know when things don't go well? Some of these so-called fans don't bugger off again.
Yeah,
that's the risk, though, isn't it? Harold there, Evening Harold, who's joined us before. Home Park just brought that comment back up because of that point. But yeah, I mean, Gavin, that's just the risk with it, isn't it? You've got to have your plan, haven't you?
Yeah. The problem with football, unlike investment, is changing a management team growing revenue. I'll put it this way: growing revenue in football is a lot harder than employing a really good sales and marketing team, right? Because you've got to have a football team with 11 players on the pitch who, if they had a Barney with their wife in the morning, or didn't get sleep because they slept in a crap hotel bed, don't perform that day. Right, which could be on the last day of the season. Hull last year didn't sleep very well. The difference between the capital value of the club being 10 million and 40 million, looking at this graph, right?
Yeah.
So that's where sort of, I suppose, Simon's frustrations, if you like, or idiosyncrasies of investment in football against normal world is you have a CEO that doesn't perform, you get rid of him, you get a new CEO. If you want to go and get more revenue, you open up more territories, you get a really good sales and marketing team in, you grow the revenue that way. Now, with football, it's the quality of the provision on the pitch that does that, right? If you can't do that, you're stuffed. So you could be playing horrendously, everything else going absolutely hunky-dory, best marketing team, best hospitality team, best fan experience in the world. If you're getting pumped 5-0 every week, you're playing in front of 5,000.
Yeah.
Right? Conversely, play some shocking football, win 1-0 every week, become top of the championship, they'd be queuing down the door for a season ticket. It's a funny old game, Saint, as one man very famously said. So that's where it sits. But this slide here, if you look at how relegation could affect the club, this is my desktop analysis of where the club's difference in valuations could be. So as we sit today, 30.2 million. So we're 5 million above, broadly, the lowest valuation for a championship club, which is the first bar on the chart.
Yeah.
Top end of that at the moment. And if you're looking at clubs like Sheffield Wednesday, off memory, Middlesbrough, Swansea, Bristol City, they're worth about 45 million pounds today. Drop down the league, we could drop as low as 10 million quid if we sit ourselves in the bottom of that division next year. Best case, in the top 6 with a top 6 budget, we're still looking at a 10-11 million pound slash of our capital value. So just on the narrative on the bottom, if you won the Euro Millions tonight, I don't know what it is, but 50 million quid, let's say, whatever it is, and you said, I'll have a chat with Uncle Si and I'll invest, and he says, great boys, here's our little consortium, right, you can invest today 10 million quid and I'll give you 25% of the club. And then our advisors go, well, hang on a minute, boys, just wait till the end of the season, because if they go down, you can probably get 50% of the club now and not 25. So can you now understand why the investment's probably, and I'm surmising, I've got no inside knowledge, just to give you absolute hold my hands in the air. This is not an ITK case at all, but just seeing what I see from my own viewpoint of doing M&A for a living, why would you in God's earth look at investing now when you don't know what you're going to pay, what the club's going to be worth at the end of May?
Yeah.
So you'd sit tight, wouldn't you?
So basically, if it was you would wait till the summer.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Because these guys have got no emotional involvement in the club. It's a business transaction, whoever they are, right? Now, I've been told that begins with a B. Their net worth begins with a B, not an M, which is useful. But even still, you're not gonna piss 10 million quid up the wall if that's the number that goes in to buy the shares. Of course, then they might start investing further cash, or they might start lending the club further cash on zero interest, like Arsenal have done and others, to do what we need to do and get us to where we need to be. But why would you spend money that you didn't need to? Yeah, which is why you wait till the last game of the season, the final whistle blows, and you go, right, okay, let's get on. So I think, Simon obviously can't come out and say this, can he? In the press, he'd be slaughtered, and also it would scupper the deal probably. But if you look at what he said down at the Working Men's Club in Cornwall, it's on its way, probably was. But then if you're thinking, well, we'll get out of this, there's a cemented 30 million valuation, we'll go against that to buy our shares, and then you start sliding down the table and you get in the bottom 3, you're probably going to just press the pause button, aren't you, if you're an investor?
Yeah, definitely.
And it was, I think a lot of stuff's misconstrued as well on the fans forum, because Simon said, it doesn't matter, whatever happens, we're getting, the investors are coming in, no matter what league we're in. Yes, but what he didn't say, which is the most important part, was how much is that going to be? And what percentage is that going to be given for? Because it could be 50%, could be 25%. That's a big chunk of change. Or it could be only £5 million for 25%.
So basically, in Simon's interest, is for us to stay up but wouldn't the investors' interest be better for us if we went down?
100%, Marcus. Because they'll then say, right, we've got a top 6 budget. I'll top that up by another couple of £1 million. We'll be Birmingham. We'll bully our way out of the league. And I've got my investment at 25%. Their 3x, 4x, 5x return then is much easier to grasp. If we then did ever get flukily in the next 5 years into the Premier League, that's a 90 million minimum, £90 million valuation of the club. Then as soon as you go up.
Yeah, it is though, Gavin, a bit of it's probably the wrong expression, chicken and the egg type thing in terms of staying up and then actually being in such a brilliantly fantastic competitive league, and knowing that you've got the money to then build that squad, build this club while it's in the Championship, could then return you significantly. So yes, going down, you'd think, we're going to get it on the cheap, but as we all know, it's so hard to get back up. Yes, Birmingham are absolutely flying, aren't they? But it isn't a guarantee to get back up.
That's the other
There's
side.
no FFP either.
Yeah.
No, there isn't down there. But that if you were building a risk matrix to go into this deal, the big risk on the SWOT analysis would be, what if we don't go up? What if we stay in League One for 3 or 4 years? That's the challenge, right? Because then you've got a club that's stagnated, la 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 la.
And I was just going to add, just if you don't know what a SWOT analysis is, because there will be some that don't: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yeah. So you basically draw a big cross in the middle of a page. Strengths go in top corner, weaknesses go in top right. So strengths top left, weaknesses top right, opportunities bottom left, threats bottom right, and you'll list them out to see what you do, how you do it. It's basically, the sponsor anti-sponsor type arrangement. Where are we going to do this? Aren't we? What are the pros? What are the cons? Right? In a bit more of a sophisticated way. So that's the conundrum. That's the thing I think that's been probably going on behind the scenes. Probably not with Simon, but probably with Simon's advisors and Simon's lawyers going on with the other side of advisors and lawyers and saying, okay, let's wait. That's probably my guess. So I think if that is the case, we'll probably hear about the investment sometime in June, because he said in one interview that the SPA, the share purchase agreement, sale purchase agreement, depending on where you look at it, the contract that sells the business has broadly been agreed. The bit that probably hasn't been, and that's all around sort of responsibility of shareholders and all that good stuff, and warranties and all those things. What probably the bit at the top line of it, which is how much, is probably the bit that's got the dot on it at the minute, because we don't know where we're going to be. If we were 10th, 11th in the Championship, I think this deal would have been done a long time ago, is my guess.
Right, I'm back. I was just grabbing a drink and my son just popped in. Yeah, no. Are we on the next slide, Gav?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
and I think we've already discussed that. So here are the 3 conundrums, really. Invest now, high risk, right? The investors back the club immediately. Now, if this was going to happen, I think this is where this December piece came in with Simon. If they were invested now, that would have given us money in the window. There's no reason to invest now. We can't spend the money. Even if it was 40 million quid going in, and the valuation of the club was crazy at 120 million quid, or 40 million quid went in tomorrow, we can't spend it. Can't spend it on key assets, players. Sit at the bank until the window opens in the 1st of June or 30th of June or whatever it is. 30th of June, isn't it? So that's the challenge. They might buy an asset that drops like a stone in terms of price from one day to the next, depending on the final whistle of the last game. So late season assessment, evaluate league position. Again, we've kind of just discussed that. Investors monitor team performance, look at the financial trajectory, look and see what's coming, and then make that decision. I think the one that's likely is the end of season. So it's lower risk. There's an accurate cost. There's an accurate price per share. We wait for the certainty of league status, whether that be stay in the champ or go down to the League One, and the valuation remains where it is, essentially where it should be based on that previous graph. And either way, if we stay up, it's a high valuation. If we go down, it's a lower. but there's a springboard then for us to be able to do everything we want to in terms of completing the infrastructure projects, probably upgrading them slightly, and then having a lot more money for some quality talent that, again, I don't think we're going to start spending £8-10 million on a 30-year-old, which some clubs do. I think everything's going to be in their mid to early 20s, so that we've got 2 or 3 years with them, and then we try and sell them on again for a higher value. That seems to be the model, and I don't blame them. I'll do the same. And actually, I think you can then mould those players better than try and get seasoned pros to play your way. So I think that's useful too. So that's kind of it, chaps, in a nutshell. Without boring anyone. Anyone who tried to get to sleep is probably already asleep now, having listened to that for the last 45 minutes. But
really good,
hopefully,
really insightful.
Hopefully, it just gives people like a really simple. There's a bit there about what we could do, Mike, is just put this up on the platform in the notes, essentially of the Spotify or wherever we go. That's just a bit about investment, what it does, how it does. But we've kind of discussed that through the process anyway, about leadership and, is Simon going to stay on? Simon wants to stay on as chairman for as long as he can. He's loving it. Probably the one point there of contention is when I do a deal normally, like if it's private equity backed, the PE fund will want at least a chief financial officer to go in, so a money man to look after their cash, and he'll probably want a chairman to go in and steer the boat. The rest of the board normally stays, right?
Yeah.
Simon wants to stay as chairman. You can't have 2 chairmen. So, and you've got to have one strategic vision. So that's probably another area of friction on this deal, I would assume.
That's Gavin.
Sure,
that's the hard bit about being a fan and owning a club, is at some stage you sort of, there's going to be that point where you might end up selling it on, and you still want that involvement, but then to sort of take a less of a role and then not be able to have a final decision making on things is tough, isn't it?
Sure, baby. I have lots of companies that the owners and the founders are always multi-generational, third generation, and they always have this great aspiration. I'll stay on for a couple of years. I'll advise the board. And in 3 months, they're literally chewing their hand in a board meeting going, I would never have done this. You're ruining my baby in their eyes. It might not be for the right or the wrong reasons. And they always fall out, right? So that's always going to be the challenge here. Now, Simon's far more sophisticated than that. And, he's an investor guy, as he keeps saying. So his emotional intelligence around this transaction will be far higher than most people. But there is still that, I want to do it that way. So that's the challenge. But, look, everything, this is growing pains, right? We have got a really good position that we're looking for investment now to pop on the next 1 or 2 levels. If you look back to the dark old past, I think people would have said, there's a pound that I want change, to quote Only Fools and Horses-ism. I would say, these are good growing pains, and it's happy. And, it's great that we've got investors out there that are looking to invest in the club. They can see the future of it. They want to be the next Guardians, and they're going to pump a ton of cash in. So if we get that, that should hopefully appease the short-term fans that go, I want to win tomorrow. I want to sign Ronaldo. I want to win 20-0 every week. And the sort of me as a fan that quite actually enjoys looking at the infrastructure and the financial modelling and how those longer-term investment strategies pay off, because that interests me, but I'm probably in the minority. In fact, I know I'm in the minority, so that's absolutely.
Mate, I tell you what, I'm silent from being that fan that wants instant success, overnight success, and getting players in to do the job. But looking at it from the point of view you just put across there, if you don't build first and behind the scenes have the facilities,
Infrastructure.
If you haven't got the
Infrastructure.
Look, it's simple, guys, right? If you've got a pot of money, right, you spend it once, right? So it's the whole give the man a fish, give the man a fishing rod, right? Yeah. Give the man a fish, he eats today. We get a squad that might take us up, that might not. If you build a nursery for fish to grow into, you can have a fish every day if you want it, but that takes time.
Yeah.
Right. Planning permission. A plot of land out at sea, taking small fish to grow them and make them big fish. All that stuff takes bloody time and money and energy, which fans, they just want to eat. They want cod and chips now and off to the pub, right?
Planting the seed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whichever way you look
Yeah.
at it, that's the difference. And as a business owner, you want a business that's going to throw off cash flow to be able to really invest in the players year on year, not have a one-off. And the example I can use of that, Plymouth Albion, Exeter Chiefs.
Yes,
Right?
great ones.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, those of a certain age will remember when we were in the Championship with Bristol and Exeter all vying for that top spot to get into the Premiership.
Yeah.
And we said, let's put up some scaffold and a few empty seats at Brickfields to get us to 10,000 people. And Exeter went, nah, we'll build Sandy Park. And Bristol City went, let's go and build the what's the stadium called? I'm very tired. So those two built on infrastructure. Exeter were European champions, 10 years later? Albion are playing in League One, National One.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
That's
I think the two arguments with like building the academies up and stuff like that. The two arguments is one is loaning them out to teams like Tavistock or Tiverton, and other players that everybody talks are good enough, like Caleb Roberts or Tegan Finn, actually don't get a chance, even though there's injury problems. That's what I think has forced a lot of problems.
And by building, Marcus, the Folkestone Park, you'll have a Cat B academy, right? They haven't decided yet whether it's going to be under 21s or under 23s, probably under 21s, I imagine. At the moment, we go to 18s and we stop, right? Which means that you're in and around the first team, you're training every day, you're not playing many matches. Freddie Osaka this year's probably played 2-3 games, right? Tegan Finn's played a couple of games. Caleb Roberts played a couple of games. That if there's that 23s academy, they're playing against other 23s with some senior players that get match fitness. If we're then top end of the champ, you're then saying to a club, right, okay, in League One, mid-table, come and have our guy for 6 months or 12 months. And that gets them ready for the first team football. Without that, you're right. What are we doing? Well, does Plymouth Parkway need a centre half? Does Tavistock need a centre half? I mean, does Tor Point need a centre half? It's ridiculous. The standard of football isn't there. So all this infrastructure should bypass all that and get those quality individuals that are coming through the nursery, that are saplings, if you like, and ready to be going planted elsewhere, to go out and try their wares in some better clubs, or at least play against people in the 21s or 23s environment that will be far better than what they would be doing by going and play for Tor Point or Torquay or whoever.
It's like the under 18s at the moment. Once they pass that, where is there for them to go?
Nowhere. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's a big vacuum. They're either pushed off elsewhere, or they're brought into the first team and they train.
You've got this. You've got you've got a youth team on this cut run. Obviously, they're in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Next is the 18s and then there's nothing for them. They need something.
Yeah, they of course they do. Yeah, and I think that's the inevitable of not being in a sort of in that those areas where there's lots of clubs that you can pass them off to, and then obviously there's costs.
And we don't have an academy. If you have a Cat B academy, they stay on. They go to 19s and 21s. It's fine.
Yeah, and as Marcus, as you brought up a few times, is as Ben makes a noise on a swivel chair. Having that under 21s, is something that we've said as well, isn't it? Having some of those sort of players that are on that fringe getting regular games. I remember watching. I mean, who used to go to the reserve matches? Back in the day and watch them on a Tuesday night.
Great sides.
I remember in the 80s going to the Plymouth, was it the Combination League? Yeah. You had like Chelsea, you had Tottenham, you had West Ham down here with their reserve sides.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah. All got.
So look,
I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and look, Gavin, absolutely brilliant insight, brilliant presentation. For those of you that have not long joined us, and those that sort of came in halfway through the presentation, by all means, you can obviously catch this back through our relevant social channels or on the YouTube account. Definitely worth a listen. Gavin's got the knowledge, got the expertise, to sort of have a qualified sort of viewpoint to bring to you all on this. I think for me, personally, with stuff like this, having, I'm in my 20th year now. It will be in May at the range, which is mental. But I joined there on 19 stores, and for those of us that are Plymouthians, when I was out of work, got a phone call to take a 2-week temporary job, and they said it's for CDS Superstores. It was called that. We actually were branded the range then, and I thought, oh, that horrible store down at Plymstock, that was that, because that's how I knew it growing up. And I went up to Estover, and I was like, oh, is that their office up there? And I suddenly thought, oh, okay, 19 stores, and 20 years later, after achieving a lot there myself and learning a huge amount about business at pace, we're now on to over 250 stores, with all this home base happening as well. And it's incredible, to sort of see and experience that, and working closely with an owner, with Chris, who still owns the business. And it's a fantastic riding the rough with the smooth. But when the opportunities arrived, like the 2008 crash, we took that and made it work for us. But hopefully everybody's had sort of enjoyed that and taken a lot from it. So Gavin, thank you very much for putting the presentation together and also taking everybody through it.
Brilliant.
So
good presentation, that.
Thank you.
So, Steve's gone dark. I don't know what he's done there. There he is. So guys, just to wake you up, if you were slowly, just nice and chilled. This is what the live lounge is about, though. Is just taking a different approach to topics about football, about Argyle mainly. So what we'll end on, because I'm conscious that we've been on for an hour and 16 now, and some of us have had tiring weeks. Gavin and myself certainly have. So I just wanted to pick up on the press conferences and just summarise some bits on there. So a couple of points from Miron on there. He was obviously very much disappointed, and we should have. If we are not at our maximum, we will struggle everywhere. The team proved in the last few weeks that if we can reach our maximum, we can be competitive. Let's see what happens tomorrow. The Wednesday game is not going to be easy. On Ryan Hardy, obviously, we all got a bit of positive indication there. Finally on the pitch, and we've missed him. Miron said, as we all know, and he's very optimistic for him to get back on the pitch on Wednesday versus Portsmouth, and may make the bench tomorrow too. Adam Randall, he's ticked all the boxes. Next test will be tomorrow in the sprints, which would have been today. Optimistic for Wednesday. A little bit of hope for Saturday as well. So that'll be good to have him back. He's played a lot of games as well. And Julio Pleguezuelo recognised the impact he can give to us on the pitch and in the locker room. A fantastic lad, Miron says, a top professional with the right mentality. It was clear we had to go and get the contract done. And by the way, he loves it here. So we also know.
Mug yet, Mike?
Say again?
Has you guys mug yet? That's the question.
No, well, actually, the merchandise, although we got football again, so it's still another busy weekend. I'm hoping I can find some time to start getting that together. But yes, I know Julio and his wife Georgia Evening are a fan of my TikToks and are aware of what we do as the Block 9. So for those that didn't hear that on Sundays, I won't go over it again, gents. Don't
I didn't
worry.
hear that. What did you say, Mike?
But it's great that he signed his 2-year deal. Actually, I should really just pick this picture up as they were both doing the presser. So Amir Muslich's final bit is we have to do our club and the Green Army. We have to do our job. I do apologise. And the Green Army will be there. Hostile, always behind us and ready to support us. This will be a huge impact on our performance. So, let's see what happens tomorrow, because we absolutely need to get these three points. And Pleggy's post-match or press conference outtakes as well. Obviously, really pleased with the new contract. Wasn't a difficult decision for him. The conversation started as soon as the transfer window shut with Miron, and it was a very easy decision for me. I am in the club's project, not just for this season, but for the future, and I will play my part. I think everybody can agree that he's been phenomenal these past few months. So, yeah, and yeah, just a couple of things on Saturday. It's an important game for us. We'll do what we do best at home park: chase after teams and stay compact. Especially when we play at home, I always feel the love to play somewhere where you are liked. That plays a big part. It gives me a chance to be close to my family as well. I love English football and the club itself. It's very heartwarming. And also, he was asked about his long throws, so it's another possibility to create chances because of my position. It gives me an opportunity, gives another opportunity for Nico and Maxi to get up. So, yeah, I mean, sort of Marcus, I'll come to you. Any sort of key points you took out of that?
Well, I think he's here because he knows something's coming down in the summer. Obviously, with investors, because if he thought a club was going to stick around in League One for too long, I don't think he would have signed.
Yeah,
But he's a brilliant player, and like you said before, he's someone who wants to be here, regardless if we stay up or go down.
yeah, absolutely,
So,
and yeah,
I think that like signing players are like certain age group, but then again, Katik's 28. Would we sign him in the summer? Because he falls a bit too high for that age range of investment.
You can't have all kids, though, can you, Marcus? You need some. I think there's a good blend at the minute of youth and experience, and I think Miron mentioned that, didn't he? That there's a lot of kids in the locker room, and Pleggy's sort of got that old wise head. And he's a good man to have around the place. So I think we need 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm on about in the summer, like signing Katic.
Yeah,
Katic.
But it's another one, isn't it? I think if you're going to have your horrible gnarly bastards, you have them at the back, don't you? So Katic, Pleggy. Not saying Pleggy's horrible.
And Sky,
Maxi, Paulson. They're all of a type. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think, and yeah, sort of Gavin, sticking with you, there's a lot of the talk to sort out, and I just had the comment up here now from Graham Byrne, evening Graham, obviously GT as well, love Pleggy, yeah, absolutely, sort of. Yeah, first time I've said it, Graham says, but tomorrow really is a must win. Otherwise, I think we've had it. It's never over until it's mathematically over, but it would take a big knock of confidence, I think, and mentally be tough with Portsmouth away on Tuesday, Gavin, wouldn't it?
But it's really, really interesting. My wife's sort of last 6 months started to take a bit of an interest in the club. She said to me, "Done in it, you're down." And I said, "Not really. Why?" So, well, if you win 3 on the bounce, you kind of, and all the other clubs get very little points. You kind of level with Oxford and Pompey. Lose 3 on the bounce, you cut adrift like an iceberg. And that's where we are at the minute. Let's be candid. Graham's point is, I think this is the first real must-win of the season. It feels like the same kind of pressure as Leicester and Hull last year at home. So that's why I think via the Block 9 handle earlier, I said we need to get out there and make as much noise as we can, like the Etihad. And I have my father-in-law down for a Leicester game. He's from Leicester. He's a VP at Leicester Rugby Club, and he was purring when he arrived into Diamond. "Oh, we're going to win 3-4-0 tonight." He didn't say much on the way home, I have to tell you. But we were absolutely fantastic as a team that night, and we were even better in the stands. And I think that's what we need to replicate again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Andy, your thoughts going into tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the fixtures for tomorrow now, and I know we've got to sort of look at our own sort of game. Which I hope we're going to go and win, but you've got Sissoko. You guarantee Sissoko will come on and do something against us, won't he? But we've got Bristol City at home to Hull tomorrow, Derby at home to Blackburn, and the other key one is like Sunderland, Cardiff, and Stoke away to Coventry, and Luton and Burnley, of course. So there's some tough games for the teams there around us. So we've got to take advantage of that because I could see most of those other teams losing.
Yeah, and also Oxford drew in Norwich today, didn't they? Tonight, sorry, 1-1.
We haven't made a massive dent in that, so we just got to go and get 3 points tomorrow. Hooker by crook, 3 points. Sloppy last minute goal I'll take, but we've got to get 3 points tomorrow. That's a must. Otherwise, we're going to lose touch, and I think that'll be, as the guy said, it could be over for us.
Yeah, Graham. Yeah, and Steve. Sort of Wednesday have had a week's rest again, so they do have that slight advantage. I imagine they will try and go at us, even on our own turf, because you want to disrupt where you can. But yeah, what are you thinking? You're on mute again, Steve.
It'll be like Cardiff all over again. We have to go at them from the first whistle.
Yeah, I think.
I've got a funny feeling Sissoko's going to start for them tomorrow.
Yeah,
As long as he gets sent off.
He won't like us roughing him up.
No, but we got Edwards, we got Rands, and possibly Fordy. We got the three of them possibly being involved tomorrow. And I think Rands and Hardy will be on the bench. Game changers.
Yeah, I think I can't wait to see Edwards back in, and hopefully that starting 11. We've got a few real good leaders on the pitch now, or in the squad, which I think really, really helps. So I'm looking forward to that. So score predictions, and we'll let everybody go, and end this live lounge. But I'll go in order of the screen. So Gavin, goal prediction for tomorrow. Score prediction for tomorrow.
2-1 Argyle.
Yeah, okay. Andy?
Well, you took mine 2-1. I'm just thinking as well. I hope they don't sort of rush Hardy back, because we don't want any more damage to him. He's going to be key for the last few games. But I'm going to go 2-1 to Argyle.
Yeah, fair enough. Steve, your score prediction?
I'm going 2-1 to Argyle as well.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
And Marcus?
Well, every time everybody's gone for Argyle, they've cocked it up. So I'm going for a 5-0 Sheffield Wednesday.
Now, you do know, Marcus, if they win 5-0, it's 100 lines for you. Do not.
Yeah, no. Well, I never ever bet against us. I'm sort of feeling a little bit tentative going into it, because I think it is, like Graham said, such an important game. But I would quite happily just take a 1-0 and get those 3 points. So that'll be my prediction, as I clearly have to take this boy to bed in a minute in the background here. But yeah, a couple of sort of questions on the TikTok, sort of saying about do you think we'll stay up? And a couple of other people are saying that. I will always remain positive, so I'm still going to say yes, absolutely. On that one, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. It will be tough. But there's certain things that could be exciting staying up in this league as well. So Graham's just said say again.
I always think there are worse. I almost think there are worse teams down there than us as well. Derby are struggling, Luton are struggling. Yeah,
not on paper there isn't. There's only one team worse than us at the moment at the start of the league table.
But that's fair enough, mate. But look at
this time of year, you have to say the league table can't lie, can it?
No, but recent form will tell that Argyle have been quite improved, where the rest is still dwindling.
Yeah. Well, Harold is going with a 1-0 win to Argyle, and Graham just can't see a win. And that's a sort of, I think, the knock effect that whole has given people. I think is unfortunately, but. Let's get those 3 points tomorrow. Thank you for everybody that's joined us tonight on the Block 9 Live Lounge. And again, Gavin, thank you for your presentation on that. We'll see what we can look to bring you next week. Where we can, we will try and bring a new topic into it and provide as much content.
Thursday.
Yes. We'll try and keep to those. This is where it's a challenge, folks, you see, when you've got 2 young kids. Gavin's are a little bit younger, so they're in bed hours ago. But look, everybody, thank you for joining us across the platforms and for providing us with some of your comments. Appreciate it as always. Please like, share and subscribe. Do all of that, and please help spread the word of what we do. We just love talking about Argyle, and we hope to expand this as well and involve some other fans and other clubs. If you want to join us to give your opinion on the live lounge as well, get in touch, send us a DM either on my account or the Block 9 one, and we shall certainly look at doing that. Other than that, Gavin, Andy, Steve and Marcus, thank you very much for tonight. Everybody else, enjoy the rest of your night. You're going straight to bed, I know. Let's go for the 3 points tomorrow, and then we'll catch you on Sunday at 6:30 to review that. Evening, folks.